Hello and a very warm welcome from Srinagar to all of our viewers tuning in to our continuing coverage from here in Kashmir. Today is 10 days since the terror attack in Pahalgam, just 2 hours from where I bring this broadcast to you. The terrorists have not been found, but the line of control has been lit up by Pakistan that is searching in the dark for what India's next move will be. There's a huge amount of ambiguity, and if you've watched our coverage from Kupwara to Baramulla to the Baisaran Valley and beyond, you will have noticed that we've been focusing not just on the security aspects, not just on the investigation, but the mood in Jammu and Kashmir. Today, I return from line of control Uri, just 2 kilometers from the fence itself in the shadow of the famous Haji Pir, where I report on something that appears to have fallen off the table and people are not thinking about. The thousands upon thousands of citizens who live just next to the line of control, who have lost family members in past escalations and now live in a shroud of fear if things get worse between India and Pakistan. This is my ground report from line of control Uri sector. Hello and welcome to this very special ground report from line of control in Uri sector. The line of control is less than 2 kilometers behind me, beyond which is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It's been 10 days since the Pahalgam terror attack. I've been bringing you ground reports on a daily basis from across Jammu and Kashmir, focused largely on the security aspect, on the hunt for the terrorists responsible for what happened in Pahalgam to those innocent tourists. But it's easy to forget in the middle of all this that thousands of Indians live right here on the front lines, very much in the line of fire. And that's why I've come here to this frontier village, right next to the line of control behind me, to tell you what it's like to live entirely within range. This is one of the 3 bunkers that's been built under this village in Tilawadi on LoC Uri sector. It's tiny because it's been built to hold about 15 people. The family that owns this house above it built this, and it's still, as you can see, very much under construction. They haven't finished it just yet, but now they tell me, and they didn't want to come on camera for understandable reasons. They say that they're trying to speed up the finishing of this particular bunker. They will have to keep some supplies and food and water and things inside, because this particular village has been impacted by shelling in the past when line of control tensions of the kind that are happening right now between India and Pakistan escalated into heavier weaponry. Now, since the line of control is only about less than 2 kilometers from where we're standing in this village, small arms fire, medium machine guns, things like that, those rounds can't travel 2 kilometers into a village like this. But if the escalation moves into heavier weapons like mortars, like artillery certainly, like other kinds of heavy weapons, then this village completely falls into range, and they've seen it before. The reason why bunkers like this have been built is not an overreaction. Shells have landed in this particular village and taken lives in the past, they tell me, and that's the reason why this particular family has built their own bunker for about 10 to 15 people, which is the entire family. The government has also built 2 larger community bunkers elsewhere in this village. Shamim Ahmed Mir is a senior person who lives in this village, and we've with some difficulty convinced him to actually speak to NDTV. Shamim bhai, इस गांव में पहले गोलीबारी हुई है, यहाँ पे शेल्स पहुँचे हैं, कितना नुकसान हुआ है पहले?
सर देखो, यहाँ पहले जब सीज फायर नहीं था तब शेल्स चलते थे, तोपें भी चलती थी, मार्टरें भी चलती थी और गोलियां भी चलती थी। यहाँ कुछ लोग ज़ख्मी भी हुए हैं, लेकिन किसी चीज़ का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं हुआ। जो भी आता है वो सुनाकर जाता है, लेकिन किसी ने कोई मुफाद अभी तक नहीं दिया है। अभी आते हैं, सुनकर चले जाते हैं, लेकिन किसी को कोई फ़ायदा पहुंचा नहीं है। इसलिए सर हम क्या और कह सकते हैं।
तो ये जो बंकर है ये इसलिए बना है क्योंकि जैसे आपने बताया कि सीज़फायर वायलेशंस जब होते हैं तो शायद गोलीबारी हो सकती है, नुकसान हो सकती है, और पहले भी हुआ है। मेरा ये सवाल है कि ये जो बंकर है बहुत छोटा है, ये शायद एक ही परिवार के लिए होगा।
एक ही परिवार।
तो क्या यहाँ पे क्या इंतज़ाम होंगे? पानी खाने के लिए कुछ चीज़ें?
कुछ नहीं सर,
लेकिन कुछ भी नहीं है इस बंकर में। तो कितने दिन के लिए गुजर सकते हैं इसमें?
इसमें ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा एक रात या एक दिन निकाल सकते हैं। अगर बारिश हुई है तो इसमें 1 मिनट भी नहीं बैठ सकते हैं, क्योंकि नीचे से ज़मीन से बारिश आ रही है, पानी निकलता है। तो अगर धूप होती है तो तब 1 दिन या 1 रात निकाल सकते हैं, बाकी ज़्यादा इसमें नहीं है। कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है, ना बाथरूम है, न खाने पीने का कोई किचन है, सामान नहीं है, न इसमें ला सकते हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ ख़राब हो जाता है, इसलिए नहीं ला सकते हैं सर।
So this is one of the smaller bunkers. This is, like I said, a private bunker, and what Shamim has just pointed out is that there are no facilities. There is also a sense of discontent, and you can hear that in his voice about the fact that the administration hasn't given them enough protection, despite people actually being injured in the past during firing and shelling in this particular village. But there are two government bunkers we hear also in this village. And we're going to try and see if they're any better. The villagers don't say that they're any better. They say they're still the same. There are no facilities at all. But let's go and check them out right now. So we showed you the private family bunker that's been built in this village less than 2 kilometers from the line of control in Uri sector. And now this is one of 2 government-built bunkers, not very old, that's been built here. For some odd reason, it's been locked and the keys have been taken away by the local authorities, probably because of some misinformation that was apparently doing the rounds around here. We on NDTV, of course, don't do that. Now, we're told that these government bunkers are not much better than the private bunker that we just showed you, not much else inside, but as you can see, there at least is a water, a syntax tank kind of thing. So there is water supply on the inside, but barely anything else. It looks to be slightly more reinforced. I can see TMT bars going through it, and therefore it might be slightly better equipped to withstand, shelling or firing if things actually escalate on the line of control. But overall, for a village of 500 people, 3 bunkers, this one with a capacity for maybe a little more than 20 to 30 people, is the only thing that they can actually depend on. Because from here till Uri town, it's a long trek, it's a long walk, it's difficult to get away. And with only 2 kilometers or less than 2 kilometers to the line of control and POK right behind Pakistan Army post, not very far from where we're bringing you this village, the people here, the citizens who live here and have no choice to leave, are literally in range and literally in the line of fire. When we talk of ceasefire violations by the Pakistan Army, and they've been happening non-stop for the last 9 days, the question that most people focus on is, how is the Indian Army reacting? The other question, of course, that we're here less than 2 kilometers from the line of control in Uri sector to report is how the others actually react. The people on the ground, the people who don't have a choice to leave from here. Here in this particular village, as you can see, that hill over there is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. That's where the frontier actually begins. The line of control runs just under it. It's the area where the last Indian Army post is on the line of control here in this particular sector. We, of course, will not be revealing any further details. But for those who may not know, the eminence you see behind me is also Haji Pir. Haji Pir has a history of its own. It was captured by the Indian Army in one of the bravest surgical strikes, if you will, of the 1965 war, and then in an incredible faux pas given back to Pakistan for various political reasons. Well, history has endured, and that's one of the reasons why over the next few decades, following the 65 war and following the giving back of Haji Pir, villages like this one sitting bang on the line of control, have suffered the folly of unfinished business. Shells have landed here, like you've heard the villagers say. Mortars have landed here. People have been maimed. People have lost their lives. And the scars of that unresolved situation between India and Pakistan, with Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, continues to be a scar in places like this. One voice in a village of 500 people. We tried to convince the others to speak, but they're worn down by fear, worn down by anxiety, and worn out by the constant tension of what could happen on the line of control just in front of them. What happens to village Tilawadi here in the Uri sector of the line of control and hundreds of other such villages hangs in the balance. As the war clouds intensify between India and Pakistan, as we continue to pursue justice for the victims of the Pahalgam terror attack, let's also never forget the citizens that live here on the front lines. At line of control Uri sector with Ashwini Mehra, Shiv Aroor, NDTV. So we've come down from the line of control sector to Uri town itself, where I've had the pleasure of bumping into a celebrity from Uri town. They call her Uri ki beti. This is Mehak Khurshid, and she's been kind enough to speak to me at a time when very few people want to actually open up. So Mehak, आपका स्वागत है. हमसे बात करने के लिए शुक्रिया. I wish कि ये बेटर टाइम्स थे कश्मीर के लिए, लेकिन आपको पता भी है कि इतना सारा जो मीडिया है अभी कश्मीर में किस लिए आया है, पहलगाम में जो हुआ है, इसलिए जो आफ्टरमैथ है उसको कवर करने के लिए. तो पहला मेरा सवाल ये है कि 10 दिन हुए हैं पहलगाम में जो हुआ है, उसको लेकर आपका क्या ओपिनियन है? क्योंकि कश्मीर ने बहुत कुछ देखा है, टेरर भी देखा है. पहलगाम एक नया चैप्टर है, एक लेटेस्ट चैप्टर ऑफ दैट टेरर है.
जी हाँ, ये तो हमारे लिए बहुत दुखद की बात है, क्योंकि हमारी ही सरजमीन पे ये हादसा हुआ है. 28 लोग जिनको कुछ पता भी नहीं था, घूमने के लिए आए थे, कश्मीर देखने आए थे. जैसे आप सबको पता है कि क्रेज़ होता है कश्मीर को देखने के लिए. घर से निकल कर आए थे कि हमें कश्मीर देखना है. उनको क्या पता था कि वो लौट कर नहीं आएंगे वापस. तो ये बहुत हम लोगों के लिए भी शर्मिंदा की बात है कि ये चीज़ हमारे यहाँ पे आई, और कश्मीर अब चेंज हो रहा था. कश्मीर में वो चीज़ें हो रही थी, टूरिज़्म बढ़ता जा रहा था, लोग निकल कर आ रहे थे. इतना टैलेंट है हमारे कश्मीर में, वो चीज़ें बाहर निकल के आ रही थी. उड़ी अटैक के बाद मुझे लगता है जो इससे पहले जो दूसरा अटैक भी हुआ था, उसके बाद इस अटैक ने हम सबको एक ऐसा झटका दे दिया है कि बोलते हैं ना कि रोना आ रहा है लेकिन वो आंसू निकल कर नहीं आ रहे हैं. इतना वो सदमा लग चुका है हमें.
जो टेंशन अभी लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर जारी है, और आपने उरी अटैक के बारे में भी जिक्र किया, वो 9 साल पहले था. लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर तनाव फिर से बढ़ गया है. अब टेरर अटैक के बाद सीज़ फायर वायलेशंस हो रही हैं. जहां हम खड़े हैं, आपकी शहर, आपकी टाउन उरी, बिलवेड उरी, फेमस उरी, जो मतलब वो जो इंडियन माइंडसेट में चला गया पॉपुलर कल्चर में, क्योंकि 2016 में क्या हुआ था तो सबको पता है कि उरी क्या है. एक फिल्म भी बनी थी उस पर. तो मेरा दूसरा सवाल ये है महक कि उरी के मन में अभी क्या है? क्या वो एक देजावू टाइप का सिचुएशन है कि फिर से तनाव लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर? ये सिचुएशन का हल कभी नहीं होता है.
जी हाँ, क्यों नहीं होगा. आप देखिए, हर चीज़ अब हो रही थी. हमारा उरी डेवलपमेंट में आगे जा रहा था. कमान पोस्ट बहुत आगे जा रहा था. कमान पोस्ट एक ऐसा बॉर्डर है जहाँ पे जी तो हमारे यहाँ की जो इंडियन आर्मी है, जिनने ये दरवाज़ा खोला था, टूरिज़्म के लिए खोला था, कि कोशिश थी कि उरी भी मैप में आ जाए, टूरिज़्म बढ़ता जाए. लेकिन इस अटैक ने उरी को भी, मतलब कहते हैं ना, वो उस इमोशनल चीज़ों में बह दिया, क्योंकि यहाँ पे भी अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा है. तो टूरिज़्म जैसे बढ़ता था, तो यहाँ पे भी कोशिश हो रही थी इंडियन आर्मी की तरफ से कि यहाँ की जगह को एक्सप्लोर किया जाए. जैसे कमान पोस्ट है, कितना फेमस माना जा रहा है. अभी लास्ट ईयर भी इतने टूरिस्ट आए थे बिकॉज ऑफ कि इंडियन आर्मी है यहाँ पे, वो सारी चीज़ें कर रही है. लेकिन इसके बाद इतना, मतलब टूरिज़्म जैसे पहलगाम के बाद लगता है कि अब टूरिस्ट जो हैं वो आएंगे कि नहीं आएंगे, उनके दिल में ये चीज़ें होंगी, लेकिन मैं यही बोलूँगी कि पीस है ये जगह, बहुत है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। हमारे जवान बॉर्डर पे खड़े हैं हम लोगों के लिए, हमारे लिए, हमारी रक्षा के लिए वो खड़े हैं। तो इंडियन आर्मी हमेशा, हम रात को आराम की नींद करते हैं और बॉर्डर पे वो रात भर जागते हैं। तो मैं इतना ही बोलूँगी कि हमारी आर्मी हमें कुछ नहीं होने देगी।
जो लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पे सीज फायर वायलेशंस लगातार हो रहे हैं, उरी सेक्टर, उरी के अराउंड, सिटी के, टाउन के अराउंड भी बहुत ऐसे गांव हैं। आप एक सोशल एक्टिविस्ट हैं, मैंने सुना कि आपने बहुत लोगों का अपलिफ्टमेंट किया है, स्पेशली वुमेन फोक को, जो एक बहुत ही अहम चीज़ है, बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, स्पेशली इन द कश्मीरी हिंटरलैंड। तो मेरा तीसरा सवाल ये है कि जब लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर सीज फायर वायलेशंस है, क्या माइंडसेट बदल गया है उरी में? क्या आर्मी को लेकर और जनरली पॉलिटिकली अवेयर जो लोग हैं, क्या माइंडसेट बदल गया है एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 के बाद?
देखिए, मैं इतना ही बोलूँगी कि इस अटैक के बाद सिर्फ एक टूरिज़्म पे इफ़ेक्ट नहीं हुआ है, एज ए सोशल एक्टिविस्ट हम लोगों के लिए भी बहुत इफ़ेक्ट हुई हैं ये चीज़ें, बिकॉज़ हम लड़कियों को बूस्ट करते थे, मोटिवेट करते थे, अपने टैलेंट को बाहर निकालो। जब से ये चीज़ हुई है तो थोड़ा सा हम पे भी ये चीज़ इफ़ेक्ट हुई है। और उड़ी के बारे में बात करूँ तो उड़ी माना जाता है अपने नेचर के लिए, इंसानियत के लिए, और ख़ास कर अपने देश के लिए वो बहुत कुछ करता है। आप देखो यहाँ पे कुछ भी होता है, कोई भी इवेंट्स होते हैं, कुछ भी होता है, तो आर्मी और यहाँ के जो लोकल हैं वो एक साथ खड़े रहते हैं। और जब भी कोई इवेंट होता है तो इंडियन आर्मी पहले यहाँ के लोकलों को खड़ा करती है,
जवान और अवाम।
हाँ, जवान और अवान। और ये चीज़ हमारे यहाँ पे बहुत मानी जाती है, और कभी ऐसा लगा नहीं कि जो हमारी आर्मी है और हम अलग हैं, हमेशा एक फैमिली की तरह हमारा वो रिश्ता रहा है।
और हमसे बात करने के लिए बहुत धन्यवाद महक। वी विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट, क्योंकि आप एक मुश्किल काम करते हैं एक मुश्किल जगह में, लेकिन आप उरी की बेटी हो तो you will always be beloved. So we wish you the very best and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. There are many mixed views that one hears here in Uri, but when someone like Mehak, young woman who's going out on a limb, who wants upliftment not just for herself and her family but for those around her, there will always be hope, even in the midst of strife, even in the midst of anxiety, and even as war clouds, familiar war clouds, darken once again between India and Pakistan. In Uri town of Jammu and Kashmir with Ashwini Mehra, Shiv Aroor for NDTV. Very privileged to be joined this evening by Lieutenant General Kanwaljit Singh Dhillon, better known as General Tiny Dhillon. He's a former Deputy Chief. He's been Director General of the Defence Intelligence Agency. Very notably has been Corps Commander of the Srinagar Corps, where I'm bringing this broadcast to you from. He's also a national best-selling author. General Dhillon, always a pleasure to have you. Thanks for being with us. My first question to you, sir, is 10 days after the Pahalgam attack, and I'll come to the LC in just a bit, but I want to ask you, 10 days after this attack, the terrorists who perpetrated that massacre in Pahalgam are still at large. How do you read that situation? Why is it so difficult to find them, sir?
Good evening, Shiv, and good evening to your viewers. Yes, it's been 10 days, and as you can, the viewers can recollect, after Pulwama, we had got them within 100 hours. But why Pulwama and Pahalgam are two different set of situations? Pulwama happened in a valley floor and with lot of built-up areas around. So terrorists, we did not allow them to get into a hideout, and that's how when they were moving or when they were speaking, we got the intelligence and we got them. Now here, the selection of the objective was such that terrorists, after committing this crime, the heinous crime, they walked into the jungle, as we can see on your screen now. They walked into the jungle where the security forces would take minimum 1 to 1.5 hours to reach the spot, because after the incident, the security forces would get ready, move into a vehicle, get to the debussing point, walk up 30 to 40 minutes, come to the place of incident, get the information and what actually happened, and there afterwards the hot pursuit starts. And once inside the jungle, like in the Baisaran Valley per se also, the mobile connectivity is very poor. That's why the information coming down took a lot of time. So once inside the jungle, the terrorists had a good about 1 to 1.5 hours lead from the security forces, and they had about 3 hours to get into a hideout before the last light. And Baisaran Valley, if I can explain for the benefit of the viewers, or Pahalgam Bau per se, is surrounded by the pine forest as you see it on your TV screen, all around it. There are small little open patches like Baisaran Valley, Adu Valley, Betav Valley, which are the tourist attractions. Otherwise, this whole area is surrounded all around by a thick pine forest. And when I say pine forest, it has primary jungle, it has secondary jungle, and it has tertiary jungle. That means the undergrowth on ground is 5 to 6 feet high. I have walked in these jungles. If you miss the person walking in front of you by more than 2 meters, you will miss him. The line of sight does not allow more than 2 to 3 meters at places. And there are places in these jungles where sunlight has not touched the ground in history. That means the tree canopy is so thick. So we are talking about a very difficult terrain, and this, as it keeps going higher, we are moving into the high altitude areas. So it is very difficult terrain, and to get these terrorists in this area. And one important point which the viewers must understand, this area has been free of terrorist actions for quite some time. Al-Fran happened in the beginning of the terrorism in Kashmir, in Adu Valley, and thereafterwards, because of the tourist season and because of the yatra, very few terrorist incidents have happened here. And as a result, security forces' presence inside these jungles has been more or less negligible. As also the information network or the intelligence network, since there are no terrorists, there are no intelligence flowing, so there are no sources who are activated. So all these things combined together are taking the time which it is taking.
General, my second question to you, the investigation is continuing. We know many overground workers have been detained for questioning, etc. Obviously, the second question that I will come to you about is what's happening on the line of control. Yesterday, I was at the LC in Kupwara sector. Today, I've just returned from the line of control in the Uri sector. And it is very clear, and we don't obviously reveal any operational details of our side, but the Pakistani side is rattled. They are mobilizing. They don't know where the next move is actually coming from. The ceasefire violations are obviously escalating day on day. Where do you see that going, sir? Not talking about India's next move, but what's happening at the LC, where do you see that going? Is it going to escalate into heavier weapons and more damage?
Shiv, in your report which you were showing prior to our conversation on the line of control in the Uri sector, I could actually identify a few places without naming them, because one has been working on this for I don't know how many years. Having said that, see this small arms fire ceasefire violation which is happening, in Kupwara sector, in Uri sector, and in Punch sector, and Rajouri sector down below. These are the indications of Pakistan Army being under, you can say, very cautious and rattled, the word which you used. The heavy weapons have not opened up as yet, but this ceasefire violation is to self-motivation, to give themselves the feeling of moral ascendancy on the line of control. And other ceasefire violation of small arms which happens is there are certain posts in Pakistan and the certain units on the line of control towards POK side who fear that they are going to be attacked tonight. So it is in panic and a prophylactic fire. They will fire every 2-3 hours, 1 magazine, 2 magazines, just to make sure even if Indians are coming onto their post, something will hit anyone randomly. So it's a fear factor, panic factor, and they're totally rattled. That's why the small arms fire on the line of control used to be a very routine thing prior to ceasefire agreement. And after that, it used to happen to give covering fire to the infiltrating terrorists from the POK side. But what is happening after Pahalgam is a sheer panic in the line and rank and file of Pakistan Army, just because they're too scared to stay in those posts, thinking something like surgical strikes may happen again.
It's very interesting to see all of these developments, General Dhillon. I did have a few more questions, but my apologies, we're out of time. But I promise you we'll be getting you back on the show because our coverage is going to continue non-stop. This is India's biggest story. So I thank you for sharing that crucial wisdom with us. General Dhillon is widely followed on social media. You can see his views there as well. And we will continue to ask the questions, visit the places where this big national story is unfolding right here on India Matters. General Dhillon, thank you very much for being with me. Well, that's a wrap on tonight's edition of India Matters, once again from Kashmir. And we will, like I said, continue to put the spotlight on this unfolding story. No operational details. We stand with our forces every time, no compromise and no exception.